Afternoon to one and all present here for today's webinar. Thank you for joining us for this webinar and for the larger cause of strengthening elder care ecosystem in India. Before we dive deep into the webinar and into the panel discussion on the specific topic, India needs to accelerate its elder care ecosystem now, where we will explore the existing gaps and emerging opportunities in this space, I would like to take a few minutes to give an overview of NSRCEL and the kind of impact we aim to create in the entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystem. For those who know about NSRCEL, and for those who may be hearing for the first time what exactly NSRCEL is India's largest incubator and is also one of the country's largest social incubator. It was established 25 years ago when NS Raghavan, who's also the co-founder of Infosys, visited IIM Bangalore to set up an entrepreneurial ethos across the country. Until COVID, NSRCEL was a small incubator, working predominantly only across Karnataka. However, during the pandemic, NSRCEL transitioned into a hybrid model and significantly expanded its reach and accessibility across India. Today, NSRCEL has incubated over 3,000 plus ventures and as well as impacted more than 7,000 ventures across the country. When we speak about the different verticals that run across NSRCEL, we have 10 programs, we have more than 10 programs in different domains and stages of entrepreneurship, which we can broadly categorize into three key segments. We have the idea and prototype stage, which includes Launchpad, healthcare, and campus founder programs designed to support entrepreneurs in the early stages of building and validating their ideas. We have the growth stage ventures, the program, which includes Velocity, Impact Orbit, and Women Entrepreneurship programs, which focuses on helping startups scale sustainability and create larger impact across the country. At last, we have the third category, which is the Center of Excellence, which includes FinTech and Climate COE, aimed at driving innovation and ecosystem development in focus sectors. And to know more about our programs that run across, kindly go through our website and you will find all the details of each of the programs running across NSRCEL. Now to deep dive into social entrepreneurship vertical at NSRCEL, which started in 2017. And since then, we have successfully run 17 cohorts ever since and incubated 220 ventures and impacted more than 1 CR lives across 25 states in collaboration with different ecosystem partners and funding partners. Currently, Impact Orbit program is supported by Capgemini, under which we are running two different verticals, Age Tech Innovations and Skilling and Livelihood Innovations. Towards your right, you will see some of our notable alumni and as well as a QR to scan and see our latest impact report. So just to mention about this webinar and what exactly Age Tech Innovation is. Our Age Tech Innovation applications are open currently, and we will be displaying the QR at the end of this presentation. And you can go through the link and which will redirect you to the application form. But however, before that, I would like to take a few minutes to let you know that who is it for, who this entire program is for. If you are a registered for-profit or not-for-profit entities who are solving for aging population and have been operational for at least 1 year, and the venture is an MVP, early stage, or growth stage with at least one full-time founder, then do apply for the program. And most importantly, we are looking for impact-first ventures. The program, just to go into deep into the sectors, which sectors we are catering to, the program is specifically focused on solutions for aging population across healthcare and preventive care, home-based and personal care, mobility and assistive solutions, financial security and legal support, as well as social well-being. And again, once you go through our website about the Age Tech Innovations program, you will find all the details in expanded elaborations. And if you're building in any of these spaces, or if you fulfill the eligibility criteria and you know someone who is willing to apply for this, we would encourage you to apply and become a part of the growing age tech innovation ecosystem at NSRCEL in partnership with Capgemini. Now, at last, what is in for the ventures, and how will the incubated venture who are selected into this program, how will they be benefited? The selected startups will receive a comprehensive incubation support designed to help them strengthen both their impact and scalability. They will receive support in refining value proposition, strengthening business model, opportunities to leverage technology for scale, access to strong network of ecosystem partners, one-on-one mentoring sessions with subject matter experts and domain expertise, support in exploring alternative sources of funding and also improving the fundraising readiness for your venture. There is also at last a grant component of 12.5 lakh for the selected startups, but based on the assessment and evaluation criteria. Now going into this QR, you can scan this QR to access the application link, which we will also display at the end of this webinar. And if you have any questions throughout the webinar, when we start the webinar, anything about the program, anything about the presentation, the chat box is disabled, but the Q&A section is open for you. Please put your questions in the Q&A section, and we will take that up from time to time. We will try to address in the chat box, or towards the end of the webinar, we will keep 10 minutes to address each queries if time permits. And with that, let us now move into the webinar and hear from the domain experts who bring years of experience in the elder care ecosystem. The panel discussion will be moderated by Pallavi Sharma, who is a mentor at NSRCEL and the founder of the Cause Catalyst organization. She holds an MBA from IIM Bangalore and brings over 28 years of corporate and not-for-profit experiences across North America and India. Now she works at the intersection of strategy and social impact, mentoring and consulting with startups and coaching founders and leaders. With that, I would like to hand it over to Ms. Pallavi Sharma to introduce the panel and take the discussion forward. Over to you.
Thanks so much, Atlanta. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. Before we started, actually, I just wanted to make a very important observation, and I'd love for everyone to kind of pause and think about this. We're here to talk about something that at some point is going to impact every human being. So each and every one of us and everyone that we care about, and that's aging. And yet elder care in India remains seriously underbuilt. I know this from my own personal experience. I've had a lot of adventures trying to navigate solutions for my parents. And one thing that became really clear to me was that many solutions that exist at scale right now, and hopefully, many of the startups that are here will be changing that, is they assume that there is a uniform level of awareness of solutions, access to services, comfort with technology and support systems, which really isn't the reality for most people. And the thing is, this is the number that's kind of shocking, right? This is not a niche problem. India already has over 10 crore seniors today. And that's expected to triple to over 30 crores by 2050. I mean, just think about those numbers, 30 crore seniors in India. And yet, if you think about it, access to structured care, financial protection, reliable support systems, it remains limited for the vast majority of this population. And while there's growing innovation, a lot of it is still fragmented and it's not really designed for scale. So really the question we want to ask in this forum is, are we designing for the realities of aging in India, or are we designing for some idealistic version of it? And so we're going to explore today, as Atlanta talked about, what it would take to build elder care solutions that truly work in the Indian market, that can scale, and where the biggest opportunities are. Before I introduce our very, very qualified panelists, I just wanted to mention that I think we have about 50 minutes for this webinar. So we'll try and take maybe 40 minutes on conversation, on the sessions, on speaking to these great panelists, and then try and leave about 10 minutes for any live Q&A. Now, it depends, of course, how many questions come in and how many can be addressed by the NSRCEL team, but we'll try and keep this as tight as possible. All right, so jumping over to our amazing panelists, Dr. Republica Sridhar, she brings over 3 decades of experience in geriatric and palliative care. working in a space that for a lot of us would be considered really difficult, working closely with patients and families through some of the most complex and difficult phases of aging. She's the founder of RMD Pain and Palliative Care Trust in Chennai, and she brings one of the most direct frontline views of what elder care looks like right now on the ground. Welcome, Dr. Republica.
Good afternoon.
Great. S Srikumar has been deeply involved. He's got like this width of experience that's going to be hard to beat. He has been deeply involved in multiple initiatives in the elder care ecosystem. He is the current founder and founder of Care Finder, which helps families navigate fragmented services, and has also supported living infrastructure through his work with Bharathi Meraki and Kovai Care. He's really seen both ends of it, the family that's in distress, doesn't know where to turn, as well as what good solutions, what good senior living can really look like when it's done well. Welcome, Srikumar.
Thank you.
And finally, Vibha Singal has spent 2 decades building consumer businesses at scale. So she's worked with Amazon, Accenture, Glance, and then she chose to bring all that great experience into elder care. She started first by founding Sukoon, and now as co-founder of Marzi by Primus. Her perspective, I think, would be really valuable to a lot of our founders because she brings a lot of insight into how seniors might engage with products and services and what it might take to drive adoption, engagement, and scale in this segment. Welcome, Vibha.
Thank you.
All right, let's dive right in. So I wanted to start with the foundational question. The panelists and I have, I'm sure have all talked about this at some point in time. And the question is, are we still thinking about aging and elder care too narrowly in India, primarily as a healthcare issue? And Dr. Republica, let me start with you. And I'd love to have all the panelists jump in on this. But from your experience, what is one reality of aging that people don't fully understand until they're actually experiencing it themselves?
So I think the key role, as you rightly said, unless they experience, they would not know. The main factor in our community is, I think we don't look forward for the future. That is the main, gap. We don't realize, rather than just looking at it on the financial perspective, we have to look at it as a holistic perspective. So the biggest gap is how holistic preparedness of elder care society is there, leave alone an individual. How, as a society, are we prepared for the elder care, community to have a part and parcel of proper quality and dignity of living? That is what I would say.
Thanks, Dr. Republica. Srikumar, anything you'd like to add there?
No, I think it's very, very important that many of us don't realize that we are there. That we're always looking at it from another person's perspective. We'll have to start looking at saying, hey, we are getting there and when.
Vibha?
I also see the longevity is increasing. The average age of people are increasing. And the number of years in your second chapter will eventually be as long or longer than the years in your first chapter. So I think we're still not prepared for a second chapter that is long, not only physically, but also financially and from a social and emotional perspective. I think that level...
Sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just saying the level of preparedness is missing.
Yeah. Vibha, you mentioned something actually really interesting, and I'd love to get everyone's perspective on this. You mentioned social, emotional, Dr. Republica, Dr. Srikumar, you also talked about the financial aspects. It seems like it's more than just healthcare, right? When you're talking about planning ahead, everyone's just thinking about, medical insurance or, doctors or hospitals, but it's not just that. There's more to it than just healthcare. Can you kind of talk a little bit more about that, Vibha, since you brought this up?
Sure. So I think it's an interconnected space. Your emotional disease will translate into a physical disease, and your physical disease will translate into a financial illness. So if most of the physical issues are very linked to what you're feeling, lifestyle issues, just the the dead emotions that you're carrying play a havoc on your body. And the more you fall sick, the more your insurance premiums start increasing. It's anyways abnormally high when you get older. But every time you get hospitalized, your insurance premiums become higher. And the retirement corpus that you had planned for the last 40 years suddenly starts shrinking faster than what you had envisioned it to be. And that again brings with it a high degree of stress and emotional, unease. So it's a cycle. So if you have to break this cycle, you have to look at all three parts of it holistically.
Yeah, so true, so true. And piggybacking on something that you said, Srikumar, I think that's so important. I think a lot of folks, when they think about elder care, they're thinking about, okay, when they become senior citizens, when they need it, right, at that moment, right? But you talked about planning ahead, which indicates that there's potentially a segment or a market even before they get to that elder care, before they even need it. Do you think there's enough thought going into actually preparing people for what senior care might look like getting them to start thinking about how they should prepare for it, how they should plan for it?
See, most of it is experiential, and the opportunities that are coming out are also experiential that comes in. So, to go back to the question, the earlier part is, I would put, you asked me saying, the question was, is senior care beyond healthcare? Yes, healthcare is a very important component, but, I would broadly define it at 4 levels. I would say healthcare is at the core of it, and then you have social support, you have economic security, and you have emotional well-being. So at every stage of our life, we are connected. When we are 40 to 60, we are taking care of somebody who's elder, right? So at that stage, emotional and financial, security is something that we automatically hits us because we are taking care of somebody. So I'm saying that, in this cycle, we have to realize where we are. We have to put this cycle and say, we are here at this moment. We are going to move here. And therefore, what is it that we require to do? See, it's very theoretical, but actually, if you sit and talk to people and you look at what is in the market, you'll understand that aging is so, it's not complex, but there's so much that is happening in it. You're muted. You're on mute.
Yes, sorry. Dr. Public, you're seeing this, on the ground right now. So when you are working with families and patients who are at that kind of end stage of their care, do you see them coming in with a lot of this planning? Do you see them coming in having supported all these different aspects, like the social, economic, financial aspects, or is that a challenge, significant challenge?
So this is a very, very important topic because I think here we would like to categorize it age-wise, right? As Srikumar brought it up, and 40 to 60 is you're preparing your, beyond aging. What is your plans? The financial, the social aspects, and all that. And then it is the mid-age where 60 to 70 you're still mobile or semi-mobile. You're not dependent. So and then comes an age where you're dependent not only on the kith and kin, but also to the society. So every stage, the elder, care becomes very different. Now, 40 to 60, there are a lot of medical assessment tools to see what would be your progress. Whereas in our country, we don't have preventive or a well-being health, or we don't look at health as wellness aspect at all. When that is the crucial age, by 40, 50, elders do have the money. But instead of, spending on wellness, they can, that is one aspect which they can really come forward, have preventive health care. So that is one sector. People who are 60 and 70, as all of us are discussing, let's not lose our money just with insurance and other things, but parallelly start planning what could be a health progress. And also, I would like to directly bring up, since I'm a palliative care physician, two particular aspects is preparing a will much ahead and also asking for a DNR. So where I prepare my, will to say that I have an advance directive that I don't want to be on the ventilator. If I know this, I have blah, blah, blah. Of course, this will change time and again. But this is one aspect where, because many of the resources, especially being a medical person, are lost in the ICU. Per day, imagine chucking out 60 to 80,000 rupees in a decent hospital. And the other government hospitals do not want to keep you beyond 5 days. So we also have to see the cross spectrum, the affordable category, the middle-aged people who have their pensions, how are they going to prepare themselves, for the future? The other category are the, not the people who are really from the downtrodden or whatever. How about the needy population? Is the community preparing something for them? Something for look forward, not only in health, but, having skill development for them, something which they can have consistently, some backup where they financially are independent to a large extent. Because if you see, especially, I don't know about the other states completely, but Tamil Nadu, most of the second generation are alcoholics. They're abused by the elders are abused. And, what about them? They have to be financially independent. So this goes to all the categories. So
Yeah,
that
thanks so much,
has to
Dr.
be
Fadlik.
taken.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid and critical issue that you're bringing up is who are we really building for? Because it feels a lot like we're building for a very privileged, urban, higher income community for the most part. So who is really thinking about building and scaling for the middle class and the lower middle class, maybe the tier 2, tier 3 non-urban communities? That is also a challenge that I'm sure we're going to come up against at some point. Srikumar, Vibha, anything you want to add on that aspect? The divide between the top 1 to 2% versus everybody else who's also aging at the same pace.
If I can talk about a couple of aspects. One, if you talk about loneliness, there is no economic strata to loneliness. You're very rich and you're lonely, you're very poor. In fact, the poorer you are, the more happier you are, right? So I'm just saying that, so that is what are we building there, because there is a community which is already built amongst the lower and the middle class segment, which is not there in the higher level segment, to what little extent that I have seen, right? If you're looking again at, what are we catering for in the senior segment, if I can look at the living segment, for instance, they are catering to all the segments. They're talking now. I mean, earlier it was only the metros. Now, senior living has expanded so much. So now the catering to everybody. So you need to understand. See, from a business perspective, if I have to understand, I should be clear about whom I'm catering to. If I'm saying I'm catering to the middle class, great. It's good. Then I have to think about scale. If I'm catering to a niche market, then I have to see what is it that I could do in that particular niche market. Healthcare again, if I'm looking at something like a dementia, then I'll have to, it's a very niche, though there are significant number of people. So I'm saying every solution depends upon the universe it holds and what the promoter or the business person has in mind. But he should know the universe very well, and then there's a lot of opportunities. See, India, I mean, if I say that EdTech, how EdTech was in 2012 and health was in 2015, elder care is now at that segment. The opportunities are so huge. I mean, wherever you touch him, believe me, the 11 years that I've spent here, I still feel that I haven't even scratched the surface. So where I'm coming to is that, you're talking about whom am I building it for? I'm building it for everybody. But I need to know that segment that I'm building for.
Right. It almost seems like, and for the founders out here and other folks in the ecosystem, it almost seems like a three-dimensional matrix, right? There's financial, economic, healthcare, social connection. There's the age that people are at, and therefore what can they be preparing for? And then there's the layer of what income level are they at, and what do they really need at various stages of time. So, creates this whole grid that all of the founders hopefully can work off of, but it gives them a direction to go and scale. I want to actually switch gears a little bit. When I was preparing for this webinar, I saw this statistic. Obviously, we see these statistics; they're always alarming. It seems like, but it says that India has fewer than 5,000 geriatricians. Now, going back to the fact that we have 10 crore plus seniors, that's a ratio of 1 is to over 20,000 seniors, which sounds absolutely insane. If there were 20,000 people trying to get an appointment with my doctor, I'd never see them, right? And in addition to that, I know for a fact that demand for trained caregivers is enormous and supply is incredibly short. So clearly, it's not just about finding the ideas, but it's a system itself that might be a little bit challenged. And so, Vibha, I'd love to direct this to you. From your experience, from a product and user experience perspective, where do you think the system breaks most today? Is it in access? Is it in trust? Is it in adoption, continuity of care? Is it in availability of service providers? Where do you see the break that happens right now, and where that we might need to fix soon?
It's across levels, Pallavi. Actually, it's everywhere. So, for example, geriatricians.
Right.
You brought up a very important point. But what about mental health experts? What about physiotherapists? What about palliative care experts, right? So the system, I think it's only now that we are sitting at a brink of understanding that what large beast are we going to deal with very soon, right? So the system is just very nascent. Everything, as Srikumar sir was saying, everything you touch requires to be built. Right? So we are at no point of time where we can say that this is something that has been fully developed or we have done sufficient work there. Everything requires work to be done. It's about prioritizing what is more important where. Until now, the entire narrative has been that India is a young country. That's been what all of us have been talking about, and that's what we have been riding the wave. It's only very recently that these conversations have started.
Right. Dr. Pavlika, taking the same question to you, you've been in the, you've had a geriatric and palliative care center for so long. So, has it become part of your routine to, train and bring on board the kind of support systems and the people and the resources that you need? Is that something that startups need to be thinking about as they're building out a solution?
So definitely yes, because going forward, as I said, there is a community that needs to strengthen elder care in all perspectives. As health, we can have preventive assessment tools, which could be, one part where we have early detection of dementia, early detection of Alzheimer's, looking forward for what would be. And there are a lot of, technology-based trackers which will give you what is your quality of health index. So those kind of things. Caregiving, yes, we have been doing it for almost 20 years. We are training caregivers in the skill segment, give them job opportunities. But if I can include it or enhance it with technology, I'm sure the quality of care will be better. In terms of geriatricians or lack of even doctors, leave alone family doctors or general practitioners to reach to elders, because they also cannot be mobile. Technology again will play a major role. We can have assessments at home or whatever it is. So definitely there is a huge gap in medical system reaching out to elders, and not only that, even any sector which can reach out. Even I think I'll just give you a real example. One of my husband's aunt was staying alone. She landed up with a lung problem, and her children were abroad. They all came, settled her, and all that. She opted to stay home. She was very confident. I will take care of myself. She had her oxygen machine, and I told her, "What do you need?" She said, "I don't need anything. I have my apps which comes and delivers whatever I want." So that is the confidence even the elder, though she's lonely, gave her. So when the existing itself can guide, I think there is a generation next. And let us also understand there are different generations now. For what we had earlier, there is, that has to be bridged. And I think that can be bridged only with technology.
Right.
That is key factor. And what about urban and semi-urban or rural areas? Technology can bring it together. If we can bring in society, and we should think of safety, technology guidance. Technology is there, whether the elders are able to use it.
Right.
So it should has to be used.
Yeah, I want to play the devil's advocate a little bit on this, because you brought up something very important, and that's something that I've experienced personally, actually, with my parents. And I don't know if this is a generational thing, and which is why I'd love to hear from Vibha and Srikumar if their experience on the ground now is different as different generations are aging. I've always felt like technology needs a human intervention point. Like, my parents are great with technology, but they need like a human person to help them with that technology, or still need a human connection to help them, make that final leap, etc. I mean, the current generation of seniors or super seniors are probably not as technologically savvy. Hopefully that changes with time. But do you think that continues to be, leaving aside the connection piece of it, which is, about emotional health, which is about something that's absolutely necessary for them to thrive. But even in the use of technology, do you think human intervention can completely go away, or is that always going to be a layer that any startup will have to think about? Srikumar?
Yeah,
Vibha?
I'll take that. I think it is very difficult to take away the human touch, right? Today, whether it's healthcare or whatever, I think we need to integrate culturally align, and beyond build models that are beyond that work with families, because I think trust is one very, very important factor when it comes to elder care, and that comes only with the human touch, right? So it is very difficult for it to get away. And see, we also need to compare ourselves with the rest. We are a country blessed with such a demographics. I mean, the kind of population that we have, we can use people. There are countries which don't have population, which needs to strongly rely on. See, tech can be an enabler. Okay, tech can be, something that can help you onto it. But that combined with the human touch is something that we have in the world that nobody else will have. So we need to see how we beautifully intervene these two when we're getting into solutions for the elders. And we have so much to give. Whether it's we're talking about leave alone the cities, talking about the tier 2, tier 3 cities and the rural, there is a huge human element that we can really use and make a difference in the segment that we are serving on.
Right.
I agree. I think the human touch, more than a necessity, also acts as a comfort factor. Even for seniors who are very capable of handling technology on their own, they need that human touch because it adds to the trust and the comfort that they are used to. So that's what at least we see at Marzi. We are an app-first platform. Our group of seniors are very comfortable with smartphone. They have OTT apps, they have UPI apps. They're spending more time on their phone than all of us combined because they're comfortable with it.
Right.
But yet they will want a human interface whenever they feel even slightly anxious or they're uncomfortable with any question. They want a human to answer. They're not happy with a AI bot or a WhatsApp bot that answers those questions. So it's coming all from a habit and a comfort.
Got it. Yeah, no, totally makes sense. Just as it's still happening at I guess there's gradations also of it, right? Comfort level with technology versus human intervention. How much of each of those areas becomes necessary changes with each generation. Maybe, our generation will be 50% better with technology, but will still need a human intervention. So yes, that's also a place for people to calibrate. So since we probably have, I'm hoping we have a lot of startups or folks from the age tech ecosystem on this webinar, I'd like to specifically talk about some of the things that might help them as they're thinking through where they scale and build. So for founders already building in this space, where do you see, and I'd love for you to get specific on this, not broad areas, but really specific ideas of what you think are the biggest opportunities over the next few years, and potentially which ones of those could really scale, not just opportunities. I mean, we've talked about niche opportunities, etc., but I'm sure everybody wants to do something that's going to make a real impact. So if you could share some of your ideas about specific opportunities, like if you had the money right now and the time, what would you go build? Srikumar?
Yeah. So we'll go back to the questions that we had earlier in terms of 5,000 geriatricians for a population. So if I were there, I would build a system that would have telemedicine across. So it cuts across the issues of a person not being there and access for people. So have a trained team who can understand and deliver telemedication on the field. HUL. If you look at any of the FMCG companies, they have run the last mile to touch the last person. And I'm sure in aged care we can do that with telemedicine, with where we can use technology to reach out. I mean, today the number of mobile phones in India are probably everybody's looking at that because the kind of net coverages that we have, the digital payment system that we have adopted. So I think we can use my thing would be to take telemedicine across and make it popular. That's a big step that we can have.
Vibha?
For me, it's going to be companionship or maybe even dating or second marriage for seniors. Again, longevity is increasing. I get to see so many single seniors who are single either by choice or by chance, and they're looking for companionship. They're only 60. There's at least 20, 25 years of life more. So I feel that's a very untouched, untapped potential. If you could build for grey wedding or a silver wedding, as it's called,
right,
it would be a lovely.
If I could just push you a little bit on that, Vibha, do you think that one-on-one marriage or companionship is the better solution? Or, for example, as we increase the number of senior care facilities, residential, senior residential complexes, etc., does that address the problem as well? Like just having friends and people that they can connect with and talk to.
So for me, it's not either or, Pallavi. It could also be and. Like I know of some, you need a social circle, but there are also people who crave for a partner, who crave for somebody who's a witness to their daily life. It's not only about going to a social club and being part of a community. And I think I personally feel there's nothing wrong in somebody wanting to find a partner again. But yes, it's a taboo topic in a lot of smaller communities.
Right.
But it is a need of an hour. So if somebody has the courage and the patience to crack this problem,
right. Because I think you brought up something very important towards the end, that yes, there is a social stigma to this in kind of the non-metro areas, which makes one question how scalable it is, or who is it talking to as an audience. But maybe once we start in one place, it will trickle down to the tier 2, tier 3 metros, and eventually become something that's acceptable all over. Dr. Republica, any specific areas that you would say are huge?
So I think the primary areas, because I'm seeing quite a few elders and people working, safety is one aspect which definitely needs a lot of focus.
I'm sorry, you said safety?
Safety, yes. Safety for elders. Yeah, so there is a lot of work which needs to be done. So in that, I would also include, as Vibha also said, a lot of counseling. No matter, it need not necessarily be mental health, but even a simple counseling, even a love life counseling, or someone they can, immediately connect up to for whatever is the need. So that kind of a thing. Nutritional aspects, sports. We have quite a few elders who have, going for shuttle or going for things. Whether that can be scaled up, whether we can have competitions, why not? I mean, and then giving them a second chance of livelihood. They can work in their passion. Maybe it could be teaching, or they might be good in accounts. We should give them another opportunity to work so that they still feel confident and financial stability, mental stability, and obviously the confidence. So these are the areas. Of course, being a medicine person, there's lots more, but I think there's lots to do. There's a lot of technology-based innovations needed. As I said, I would call it high tech and low, high touch and low tech. Whatever is possible is the best way forward. And having a technology guidance, which I already told, channelize a passion, which we never do.
Right. Which I'm seeing. Sorry, go ahead, Dr. Public. Don't mean to cut you off.
So even right from the home, if that can be developed, the passion can be coming forward and things like that. Now the growing social media and things like that, whether a lot of things can be encouraged something. And today I saw an interesting thing there where the government, I have really not Googled much about it, but I saw a forward where the Airbnb is offered by the government. So I thought, won't that be good for elders if they have one single room? Government is giving them financial aid to develop it and create an Airbnb, especially for government delegates when they have a bigger mega kind of event, which found it interesting. So elders who are having 4-bedroom house and all that, half is not used. So such things can really help.
Got it. It's so interesting, as you all have each talked about ideas. I'm connecting the dots here, right? Srikumar, you talked about healthcare. Vibha is talking about emotional connection, mental health. Dr. Republica, you're talking about social connection and physical well-being. So it comes back to this ecosystem. I'm loving that it keeps circling back to this kind of ecosystem approach. And each of you all have brought up ideas that kind of touch on all the different ecosystem ideas. Even security safety that you talked about, Dr. Republica, is really is about, again, the community coming together to protect elders and, help them navigate the world as it is now. So I want to switch gears a little bit to help our startups a little bit more and talk about how does funding work in the elder care space? Specifically, who ultimately pays for elder care, and how should founders be thinking about building sustainable models in this space? For example, is the family going to be paying? Is there any government support? Should we be working on insurance? What other ideas are there to help make all these different ecosystem aspects accessible to more of the community of the elders? So what does funding look like in this space?
I would probably look at funding from two aspects. One is the social funding, because whatever you talked in terms of care, and then the where people can access this care, where they are not in the privileged section, so that comes under the social segment. And two is that we have the people who are investing. Correct. So today, I think the investments that have come in, at least in the last 10 years that I've seen into the elder care segment, has been significant, right? So it does not directly come as elder care, but if I look at, if I look at, some living, then there are so many people who have come in, from a living part. But today the opportunity there is everybody is setting up something, but who is helping them run it? What is the kind of applications that are available? So I'm saying, if you're looking at funding comes to all the segments. Okay, if I look at the social funding, it can again come in 2 or 3 segments. People who have very good ideas can go to social organizations like the Rotary or the Lions, where they are absolutely looking for funds. I mean, they're absolutely looking for areas to fund. Okay, and these organizations have global partners and saying, hey, if there is an assignment like this, do let us know. We would like to fund it. So the question is for these people to have the right connect. Tata's, for instance, had something called the Social Alpha, which was a fund which was funding the social. So you are very clear saying this is my, this is my audience, this is the cause that I'm going to serve. You can't have a hybrid saying I'm going to do social and I'm going to do for profit. No, depending on that, funding is available, and you just have to talk to people like us, and we will tell you who had some, a product or a service similar to you and got funded from. And what did they look for? Was it scale, or was it, in many cases, funding comes from the funder being very close to a particular cause? So these are the things that one needs to keep in mind.
Right. Dr. Republica, I know you have some experience with CSR, and that would be something that I think, the founders would probably benefit from hearing about.
So yes, so as a part of having the non-profit entity which we're running, the skilling is primarily supported by CSRs, and quite a few companies have allocated budget for skilling. So it could be training the trainers, or the skilling for the caregivers, and all the therapists, counselors. All these can be coming under the purview of CSR. Other areas are, if you have innovations in terms of safety protection tools or something like that, they will definitely come forward. And also, as I said, if there is a community kind of an intervention, definitely CSRs do come forward. Particular area, we can reach out or whatever it is. So skilling can be at any platform. I'm in health, so I'm taking up caregivers, but it could be making them a social entrepreneur, making a cooperative society, a group of elders coming together. I know one village, which is my relative is there in Gujarat, where one family took up catering for serving for the elders. And one CSR had come forward locally to support them on that. So there could be innovations in such things. There could be cloud kitchen to give nutrition food. Those are the areas which we can really think at. So definitely CSR, if the impact is given, they're very much available to give the funding. So that is definitely there. And the other aspect, as Mr. Srikumar rightly said, in the real estate perspectives, in the health perspectives, there are quite a few who would come forward. The only thing is it should be, beneficiary based, the intervention based, and the impact it can bring back to the society is what it is. But the bigger game is, as you rightly said, there should be a social security, financial security, safety. This, I think, only as a complete community, we all work together, we can achieve that.
True. Thanks so much, Dr. Vibha. Anything you'd like to add from your experience with 2 startups in this space?
I'll talk about institutional investors. Srikumar sir and Dr. Republica have spoken about the social funding. I'll talk about the institutional funding. When you get institutional investors on board, they operate from a space of business return, right? That's the reason why they are putting in money. So whenever you're looking to raise money from institutional investors, your business case needs to be very strong. And at a unit economics level, it needs to be very strong. So you have to understand that any institutional investor will, let's say, if they have 100 rupees pie, they are going to bet on maybe 10 companies out of that, hoping that one of them will become a unicorn and give them the multiple that they want. So they are not doing it for social or charitable purposes. They are doing it because they see a fundamentally strong business and they want to maximize the returns, which means that when you're choosing to raise money from institutional investors, you get automatically boxed into building for a certain TG that can afford premium solutions that you're bringing. You can't make the mistake of thinking that you're building a social enterprise and a for-profit enterprise the way Srikumar sir, mentioned that point too. So be very clear about the business objective there. Second, if you're raising from institutional investors, raise patient capital. This is still a very new space. There is no playbook. So there are going to be more failures than wins. So you need an investor who's not breathing down your neck saying, show me the money. You need an investor who is more like a sparring partner or more like a co-pilot who's ready to be in bed with you for the next 10 years and build it out with you. So those are the two advice or two learnings that I have seen in the last 2 years of working with investors.
Got it. Great. So what I'm hearing is, maybe CSR funding, et cetera, can come through at the infrastructure level where you're actually building the support systems that will enable the entire community. Whereas as a business entity, you still got to think about the unit economics. If you are looking for investors, they're still in it to make money. They're still looking for returns. So obviously that's going to be critical for you to deliver, which also brings us to the question of scale. You've got to think about where in this matrix you're going to play, because they're also going to look for scale. They're not looking for something that's going to grow double. They want something that's growing 10x. So you've got to think about all these different aspects when you're building something. All right, we have only a few minutes, and then we want to open it up to the questions from the attendees. So just one final closing question for all three of you. If you had to think about the one thing that founders, ecosystem players, anyone who goes into this space underestimates when they're building for India's aging population. If I could phrase that another way, what is the single biggest problem or challenge you would say everyone should come into this aware of, prepared for, and ready to address? Dr. Publica?
First of all, I think they should recognize that we are also going to get old. That is the way forward. And I think strengthen and also integrate elder care into the normal system also, rather than just looking at it. So they should be, however I would want to put the wording, as make them feel important or integrate them into the society to a large extent in terms of all the social or engagement or decision making, rather than keeping them isolated and keeping them in the silver economy, not understanding the importance that can bring into the economy of the Indian government also. So I think that
if I could rephrase that, I think I would say what you're saying is the challenge is treating them as separate or other, treating them as a group that needs to be addressed independent of the rest of the community, as opposed to treating them as part and parcel of the community, and how do we kind of interweave their needs along with the entire community and how it's functioning, right? So that would be a challenge, is not to kind of think of them as, okay, now it's like we're drawing a line, and once you're this age, you're moving off into a whole new country. You're not. You're part of this country. You're living in the same environment. Thank you. Srikumar? Vibha?
Yeah. See, to me, I think I would just take on from what Vibha had said. Business opportunity for this segment is not to build a list of ideas, but then you have a very clear, structured playbook. What am I building? Does it matter? How can it be viable in the Indian context? Because see, a lot of people build saying, okay, I'm building this. It's been successful in the US. I've been building this. But in the Indian context, will it be successful? Who is my stakeholder? Many of us don't understand. We don't identify the stakeholder. Who is my stakeholder? And who influences? Who's the decision influencer for? And how big is my market? If you do this basic homework, and I think, we are kind of there. If we know what we're doing, they say, no, you don't, you're not going, it does not matter if you're running fast, if you're running on the wrong road. So if you're running on the right road, make sure that you have all these points done before you start running.
Right. So what you're saying is, there's so many different areas that are interconnected, making sure that you're touching upon all of these different variables and understanding how they fit together. It's almost like a jigsaw puzzle, bringing
Yes.
all these pieces together to ensure that you've covered all bases when you're creating this solution. Vibha?
For me, I think one of my biggest learnings has been that you need to first solve for a very niche audience, even within elders, and then see how do you expand them. We cannot or should not assume that every elder looks alike, or you can't even bucket people by age. You can't say 55 to 60 is one demographic or one group. There are so many cuts. It's like you mentioned about income cuts, life stage cuts, triggers that are happening, work profile, XYZ. So it's very important to go deep and solve a genuine problem for one cohort. Figure out the GTM there, figure out the value proposition there, figure out how you're going to make money there, and then start expanding and thinking about scale.
Yeah, I love that you said that, Vibha, because I think I started by saying it's not one size fits all, right? And they assume that there's a uniformity of need, access, understanding, everything. But what you're saying is figure out one slice that you can address, do it well, and then build upon it. Perfect. Great. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop asking questions now because I see a whole bunch of questions from our attendees. So I'm going to jump in and maybe take on some of these questions and direct them to the panel. Okay, so there's a question here. I'm starting from the last one because it's the first one that popped up and it kind of ties into what we've been talking recently. So the question is, we see a lot of health tech apps such as Practo, Healthify Me, etc., that are already successful in what they do. In your opinion, is there any reason why they are not going all in on elder care or building products that are specific for elder care, considering that they already have the distribution? Is an online health tech business very limited in scope when it comes to addressing the issues around elders? Vibha, Srikumar, you both talked about this. Which one of you would want to jump in? This might speak to a little bit of what you said, Vibha. You kind of figure out your niche, you get that going right, and then you expand upon it. But would either one of you like to take this question and say, why wouldn't a successful health app move into elder care?
Probably, Vibha, with your permission, I'll just take the first shot at it. See, I think what these guys are looking at, they're not age tech companies. They're not, I mean, for them, their product is a medical product which is applicable to all. So they're very clear on what they're doing. So they have built it for them. So there also gives the opportunity for us to build something that is very specific to our requirement. So I'm just saying that they have not done that because currently, see, if you look at, will I target the pediatric segment more or will I take the senior segment more? From my personal experience, when I've seen a lot of people, they're saying, hey, I have to do this, I have to do this injection for my kid. They say, go ahead. Whereas when it comes to elders, so I'm saying somewhere, the market for Practo, their market, I mean, they're investing where the market is. They will probably look at scaling into this if they, they have an investor who says, hey, build this for me. So that is my take on this.
Also, building for this TG requires a different design thinking along with GTM. I'll give you very practical examples. Now, let's assume you're building for somebody who's 68 and that person has light cataract in their eyes. So when you're building an app, your accessibility and your contrast on the app will be very different versus if you're building for a Gen Z. Your font size will be minimum 14 size, whereas for a Gen Z app, 12 is okay. Those customizations become very nuanced, but those become the reason why somebody is able to move to technology easier than a Gen Z. Now, for someone like a Pratt or Healthify who's building for the millennials and Gen Z, they don't have a business case to change their entire design thinking and build for a senior, and which is absolutely fair. Right? The second part is who is the influencer versus decision maker versus financier. Now, for a Gen Z or a millennial, the decision maker, the influencer, and the financier and the user is actually the same person. But for a senior, the user is the senior, the decision maker may or may not be them, the influencer may or may not be them, and the financier may or may not be them. Now, that journey is a very different journey versus building for somebody where all four roles are played by that same person. So there are nuances that one needs to keep in mind.
Got it. We've got two questions here that we've kind of touched upon, but I don't think we spent a lot of depth in this. There are two questions that are somewhat similar. I mean, they're talking about different areas per se, but the question they're both asking about is, pricing. And so I'm going to read out the questions, but reframe them a little bit. So one question is about why are there no palliative or geriatric care centers in spiritual places? More from the perspective of there are more destitute elders there. So I think they're speaking to the fact is why are all elder care centers only in urban areas and where caregivers are available? How do we address the issues of the destitute elders? And a kind of connected question is cost of pricing for services is currently a big inhibitor for geriatric in technology, apart from the need for touch and feel and in-person intervention. How can this technology be made more affordable? So I think there's two questions that are sort of connected. One is, how do we stop being so urban-centric or high-income focused? And two, how do we make this available and accessible for all? I'm sure we don't have a solution like here's a magic bullet or button that can fix all of this. But any ideas about how folks might be able to address that, moving out of the urban centers and making pricing more affordable for those of lower income communities, even in urban communities?
So can I take that
Yeah,
question?
absolutely, Dr. Republica, please.
This is very, very important actually. Why there are not many palliative care centers, and they are pushed into that. So 20 years back, palliative care was not at all in existence in India. It was very prominent in abroad and all that. So people used to just think, okay, this person is bedridden, I cannot take care, and then the only option is destitutes, where it was more missionary or people from the not exactly spiritual, but with a religious backup who would try to do it as a community level. So this was what was existing. Now, why many are not taking it? Because palliative care itself needs a lot of comprehensive licensing and government intervention and all that, whereas an old age home does have, but it's more of a social perspective. So there is the huge difference, and palliative care is more medical and all that. In India, spiritual people have not taken up palliative care because of this perspective. Then the lack of primary caregivers, bedside caregivers who can really do their day-to-day course, right from cleaning them up and things like that. Who does it? So in a destitute home, nobody questions on the quality. So that is where it's the big gap. Now with other aspect as how we are going to reach out or manage this, there are two ways of looking at it. Definitely CSRs can come up with old age homes or whatever. Definitely the governments do have the funding and the scope, to run, corporation-centric elder care communities, which is happening in Tamil Nadu. I'm not sure about the other states, but they do have people like that. This is for the underprivileged. Now, with regard to the urban, even the senior living community comes under the purview about particular guidelines of running the organizations. So you have to have that stipulated guidelines and the licenses to run the same. This is what is the current scenario. So how technology can enable it is, we can even have website which can give you all the details. As simple as that. Maybe a call center which would guide you which category who can help you out. So this would definitely bring a huge difference. Me or my relative can call, find out this is what I can afford, where can I put? It can go. This is just an example, but we can think large. This is what I feel.
Got it. There's a connected question that I'd like to bring up, actually, because since the costing came up, there's a question about, given that the upcoming government has proposed a rupees 25 lakh family health insurance scheme, which is a significant increase from the 5 lakh under Ayushman Bharat and the previous 1.5 lakh state limit. Could the panel explain the financial feasibility of this jump and the specific roles the insurance and health departments will play in its implementation for e-care? I'm not sure, does anyone on the panel feel comfortable speaking to what the government and the insurance and health departments can do in this space? Or is there, I see an opportunity for someone who's willing to connect these two, connect the healthcare the benefits that are available through government schemes to the beneficiaries and find a way to bridge that gap. Anyone want to weigh in, have a perspective on this increase in family health insurance, or how to make care more affordable for the community at large?
See, I can say that, I don't, this particular scheme, I don't know much about it because it's just been there. But in Tamil Nadu, you have the Chief Minister's medical scheme, and that has been very, very helpful to a lot of people. They've been able to access it and they've been able to get it. And then I'm saying, as you said, you need the right people they can go to. I don't know if you're aware that there is this private number 14567, which, it's a public-private partnership where they have data. If anybody wants any information about this, they can call that and ask. So I'm just saying, you can go to people who can, explain these schemes to you just as much as the central government, reimbursement schemes that are available. So in Tamil Nadu, it's working. The Chief Minister's, health scheme has been working very well. And I don't see why this particular thing will not, provided you go to the right person. And there is an opportunity here.
Yeah. Anything you'd like to add, Vibha? I think we're past time. I'm about to.
Unfortunately, I'm not aware of this.
Okay, got it. I think to all the founders out there, I would say here, these are the areas you should be exploring. So, there's a lot of great people in the space who can help you navigate this, but maybe these are ideas you need to be thinking about and coming away with. So if I could just close really quickly, what I'm taking away from this conversation, from all the great information that panelists talked about, I mean, there's this idea that there is an ecosystem approach that cuts across healthcare, social support, social connection, financial security, safety, and just everyday community living. And any startup, any organization that's working in the ecosystem has got to take all of these things into consideration when they're actually building for this community. The other thing is, there are different stages at which, different ages at which, different services could be relevant. Services or products could be relevant based on whether they're planning and preparing for, senior living, or if they're already there. And the other thing that I'm taking away from this is, there is an infrastructure solution that's needed. People need to be thinking about how they're going to support all these different services and technologies. And technologies that will work not just from innovation, but from the perspective of affordability, access to different communities, trust, which has come up multiple times because, we talked about the human intervention, but trust and comfort. And also there's a level of behavior change, I'm sure, because, getting used to using all of these things that are out there, all the innovations that are out there is a big piece of it. And then funding, of course, exploring CSR as you're trying to build kind of long-term assets and capability within the community and the country. And then really thinking long and hard about your revenue model, your business model, your GTM, how are your unit economics working? How are you going to scale? Starting with a niche, perhaps proving the case and then building from there. So lots of amazing ideas here to think about. It is clearly a very important and completely underexplored areas, as I call it, unbuilt at this point. So here is an opportunity for all of us to build it. So wanted to thank our amazing panelists, Dr. Republica, Srikumar, and Vibha. Very, very different windows into this very important space. And for those of you who are already building in the space or thinking about building in the space, I hope you'll consider the Impact Orbit Age Tech program at NSRCEL. I have to get that whole thing right. And of course, all of you out there, I mean, please think about this. This is going to impact, like I said in the very beginning, to close the loop, this is going to impact every one of us directly, either for ourselves or for our family, for our parents. So we should all be thinking about it, and we've all got to be thinking about how to make this community stronger, to integrate everyone into what the future of India looks like. Thank you very much, all. Atlanta, any closing?
Yes.
Thank you, panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you once again for everyone who has joined in. It's wonderful to see the Q&A section so active, honestly. We have received multiple questions, more than 30 questions, and I have tried to note every question down, and we will try to summarize it. Also, if your question was not addressed due to the time constraints of 1 hour specific time, then please write to us on the email that has been provided on the chat box. And once again, I'm pulling in the QR for the application form. Do apply if you find this cohort relevant, if you find this program relevant for you. And once again, thank you for joining in. This speaks volume of your work. And again, special mention to all our panelists for giving your time, for taking out your time and giving us time and sharing your valuable expertise and deep domain knowledge, helping us as well as the audience here. Thank you once again. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye all. Thank you.